I'm Delegate Kirk Cox, and I've had the privilege of being in the House of Delegates for almost 32 years now. I'm a Boise State alum. I went way back in 1974. What I so much appreciated about Boise State in particular, it emphasizes local and state government. And I've always said that shapes people's lives so much more than the national government. Your K-12 system, your college and universities, even all your criminal laws all basically come from the state. They really affect people's lives so much. And Virginia, of course, is the birthplace of representative democracy. We just celebrated 400 years of being the oldest legislative body in the New World. I've also always appreciated how Boise Staters have been such a stellar group. They're the leaders in their school, and that's why they're selected. It also gives you great firsthand experience. The first thing that gives you great firsthand experience is elections, because if you don't get elected, you can't basically get through those policies you feel so passionate about. So let me give you a quick Winston Churchill joke, which I think sums up elections. A woman approached Churchill and said, "I'd rather vote for the devil than vote for you." And Churchill replied, "Well, in case your friend's not running, I hope I can count on your support." And what Churchill was basically saying there was he was going to go for every vote he could go for. And so, as I said, you got to win the election first. And I can remember my first election way back in 1989. I was a young school teacher, was a heavy underdog. So I decided I would knock on every door in my district. Now remember, House of Delegates districts have almost 80,000 people in them. I got bit by 2 dogs, I persevered, and I won. And so my advice, obviously, if you ever get to go to Boise State in the future or any election that you participate in on the college level, etc., go out there and go for it. At Boise State, as soon as you get off the bus, I used to advise students, start campaigning right away. And so that, of course, is extremely important. Once you have won the position, you got to get down to the important work of governing. And you have to build smart coalitions. And this is where you have to reach out. I'm a Republican, but I got many Democrats to support my legislation, independents. I tried to basically tell them why it was good for Virginia. So that's awful, awful important. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I came up with an idea called the Online Virginia Network, probably 5 years ago. And of course, now with the pandemic, we all think about online learning. Much more scarce back then. And what I found out in my research was there were 1.1 million Virginians that had started college and never finished. And they simply were not going to go to a bricks and mortar institution. They had families, they had jobs. We had to find a way for them to get their 2 or 4 year degree that was basically fit their lifestyle. So we got George Mason and Old Dominion University to come together and offer some very innovative online programs and some very innovative majors like cybersecurity that you could do from the comfort of your home. So those are the types of things that I try to do legislatively. At Boise State, I used to always urge my boys that were going to be delegates, when you come up with your great idea, you got to prepare. You got to think of every question you can be asked. You have to think basically, if I got the language right. I used to get some of the best policy experts in the state to sit down with me and ask me every question simply that you could ask on pieces of legislation that I carry. I wanted to make sure I thought of every contingency. So in closing, my single message, go for it. And I've had the privilege of being a delegate, the majority whip, the majority leader, and even speaker for 2 years. And one of the things I always told myself was, achieve the highest thing you can achieve. We started with Churchill. Let's end with Churchill. When Churchill was talking to a fellow student, Merlin DeGrasse Evans, way back when he was 16 years old, he basically said to him that he foresaw terrible times for England, that he foresaw wars, he foresaw London being bombed, and he foresaw himself being basically the savior, that he was going to play a prominent role. And it's interesting that DeGrasse Evans said, "How can you say that, Winston? First of all, you're 16, and we're an island nation. We've always been protected since the days of Napoleon." And of course, Churchill was right. And you could even say that probably Churchill stood in between Western Europe being conquered from Hitler if he had not been that great leader. I'm still convinced that our system of representative democracy, and especially in Virginia, is the best that any civilization has ever developed. But it's only effective, it will only work if we can produce the next generation of great leaders. and you are that generation of great leaders. So with that, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I hope you all have the opportunity to participate in Boys State in the future.